Another thing that successful retirees know is they have a very clear understanding of what is in their control. I mean, we all know in this world there are unknown unknowns, but there are very much some known knowns, and there's some things we can control. And successful retirees understand the differences in those and how to focus on the ones that they can actually impact.
And I feel like so much of it comes down to knowing and focusing on the things you can control. Because if you start focusing on the things that are outside of your control, you just get kind of panicked for no reason.
That's right.
And you're kind of lost. JP Morgan kind of broke it down to looking at the things we can control, things we can kind of control, things we can't control. And what's most within our control is how much we spend, how much we save, and where we put these dollars.
I love that they want you to focus on that. They don't, because what you did not hear in there is market returns. I can control what the stock market does, or maybe tax benefits and tax policy. Well, I can't control if I pay this much in capital gains rates or that much in capital gains rates.
And those are the things that make headlines.
And right, exactly. The things that the financial media want you to clue into are not actually the things that you can control, but it gets none of the press, and it probably matters way more than all the other stuff.
Yeah, I think there's an in-between as well. You know, the anxiety stuff, of course, like the market returns, tax policy. Try to, as Aaron said, put on your blinders on those things. But I really do want everybody to lean into, what do you save versus spend? What is your asset allocation? And then, you know, in the long term, you also do have limited control on, hey, can you go earn more money?
Sure.
You know, can you make your shovel a little bit bigger? And then also making sure that the longevity starts saving and investing as early as possible, so the army of dollar bills has that much compounding growth working for it in the background.
So when you think about like setting yourself up for a successful retirement, we want you to tighten the bolts of your financial plan before you start blaming the wind, right? Don't focus on the external factors that could potentially impact the stuff if you've not already done the hard work of focusing on the things that you can control. Because at the end of the day, your behavior is most likely the biggest difference maker in your financial outcome, not the extenuating circumstances outside of the things you get to choose.
And I think your behavior gives you the confidence. If you have a solid plan, you're like, these are the things I've done. This is my checklist. This is what I focus on. You know you're good. If you're like, oh, this is how the market's performing, this is how Congress is passing new tax changes, you always feel out of control.
That's right.
Well, and I love, you know, once again, all those new people coming in, you're probably looking at this and you're hearing the content and you're like, well, how much should I be saving? And that's here's the good news. Go to moneyguy.com/resources. We have a great illustration on how much you should save. So where you cross-reference what's your age versus your in the intersection with your savings rate. And you'll very quickly see, if you figure out this content in your 20s, your money goes a long way. You'll more than likely replace more than 100% of even your working income in retirement if you really hit the ground running. But don't worry. This is why we can saving 25% of your gross income in your 30s all the way up to your 40 years of age. You're probably going to be okay.
That's
now,
right.
Absolutely.
If you discover this, we have something, we're an open tent, big umbrella here. If you're somebody who discovers this and you're in your 40s or 50s, it doesn't mean your opportunities passed you by. It just means you might need to save a little bit more. So go use this resource to kind of figure out where you are and spot check yourself.
These resources are so good. I've used them for years. So yes, tell everyone to go download them.
I love it.
And I'll give Bo credit. We have really fancy spreadsheets behind this that he
Look at
loves, some good macros to kind of power these things.
Another thing that I think is so interesting, not only do you need to focus on the internal things that you can control and really think about your behavior, but one of the ways you can even use your behavior to impact your strategy is thinking about, okay, how am I going to tactically do this? Like, what are the decisions that I can make that, while it may not affect the entire picture in a grand scale, these small degree changes can have impact, like where I invest. We talk about all the time, Brian, that as someone's financial journey is progressing, like early on, you want to focus on the stuff that matters. But as the portfolio gets bigger and bigger and bigger, small tweaks and paying attention to small things, while you may not be able to impact tax policy, you do recognize that taxes impact your portfolio. And so even how I think about where I'm putting my money from a tax perspective can have a significant impact.
Yeah, I love that you can, and maybe it's my CPA background, but I love that you can legally manipulate how you structure your accounts. And that's why we're always talking about the 3-bucket strategy. For somebody who's brand new to this, look, a lot of you are going to get into your 401k, and yes, you might be funding your Roth portion, but your employer historically has been in that pre-tax. So you'll have your pre-tax buckets, which are going to be taxed at ordinary income when they come out. So that's why we typically see in a portfolio retirement type assets like bonds and things that are going to be taxed at ordinary income. We load up in those accounts. Tax free. This is your Roth accounts. When you fund your Roth IRAs and so forth, we like to get a little growth going here because we want to maximize that tax-free growth opportunity. So load up those Roth IRAs, the Roth 401ks, the health savings accounts after you cover your deductible. And then there's the after-tax accounts. This is like your taxable brokerage accounts. There's nothing wrong with filling these up because they're also tax favored. Your dividends are going to be taxed better. Your capital gains rates are going to be better. And I also love the liquidity. These are great bridge accounts. If you decide you're part of the FIRE movement or FIND movement and you want to have some opportunities to do things a little more flexibly, these accounts are going to be those bridge accounts that let you have access earlier.
I think you said it with speak to the CPA in you. It's not just about your taxes today, and it's not just about your taxes in retirement. If you utilize these buckets throughout the course of your entire career and in retirement, you can lower your lifetime tax bill and you get to keep more. And it's about how much you get to keep.
It's about how much you get to keep over your life.
Yeah.
And then, but maybe you're saying, guys, you heard this and you got these tax buckets. This sounds complicated. This sounds advanced. This sounds like something I just don't know if it's my skill set. And that's okay. Because when it comes to building in consistency, one of the things we want you to do is we want you to build in systems. We want you to do things that might likely set you up for the highest probability of success. And what's amazing is the world has made this so much easier. I mean, back in the day, Brian, back when you started investing was a lot harder. I mean, you'd have to go down to Fred Flintstone's office. You'd have to meet with him, have him sell you some products. You couldn't do it the way that we get to do it today. But technology has changed the world to where it's easier than ever to actually implement some of these systems that do make wealth building almost inevitable.
Yeah. Have you always been an index investor, Aaron?
No. I started as an individual stock picker because Warren Buffett was my hero.
Of course.
And when I was, 16, 17, I'm like, I'm going to be the female Warren Buffett, get ready. And I was not. I lost money and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. John Bogle's got a better plan over here. I'm signing up for this.
Yep.
I love when I started creating content back in 2006. One of the earlier shows I did was that here's a great investment that only 5% of people knew about. And I was talking about index funds.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it shows how the world has changed now. It's because it used to be, if you go all the way back, it wasn't that long ago, back to the early 2000s, most people were using active managed mutual funds, and that was considered the easy set it and forget it, besides outside of individual stocks. Yeah. Well, I'm happy to report that we've even had another development in the fact that, because we love index funds, they're low cost, they're very tax efficient, but a lot of times you figure out, okay, which index? I mean, I know you guys talk about the S&P 500, but there's international investments, there's small cap investments, there's real estate. Well, how am I supposed to manage all these different index funds, including bonds and so forth?
Sounds complicated.
Well, here's the part, and this is what we like: indexed target retirement funds. For those who don't know, is because they're low cost. Now, there are target retirement funds that have much higher internal operating expenses, but we like, if you look at the big providers like Vanguard, Charles Schwab, Fidelity Investments, they have really low cost target index retirement funds that you can get into. And Bo has already kind of detailed this. If you can tell me how much you can save and when you need it, they do this brilliant thing where they create what's called a glide path, meaning that while you're younger, and look, by the way, you can look at every one of those providers I gave, they are a little different. So if you want to be more aggressive, go figure out which one is more aggressive and has less bonds in it, and you choose that one. Or if you want to be more conservative, you get an active role in this. But the cool thing is that while you're younger, they're very aggressive to a degree. But as you get closer and closer to retirement, this glide path brings down that asset allocation to a point that, so it's managing all those complexities that probably turn a lot of people off.
Absolutely. And I mean, really, when it comes to index funds, everyone should be utilizing them in some capacity, whether it's your entire portfolio or a piece of it. But whether you want to be fully involved and choose your individual index, whether you want to have a hands-off approach and just be like, I'm choosing this one fund, this is where my money is going, we're done, that's target date, everyone can win with them.
It's about setting up a system that allows you to be consistent.
Yes.